I think it is 9 o'clock. Let me call to order the Special Commissioners Court meeting for Tuesday, October 13th, 9 a.m. Judge Kelly is joining us by Zoom today. And for those he had a long scheduled, vacations. You're on out of town today. And that's why he is not here, but he will join us by Zoom. And Commissioner Moser, I believe you have the prayer and the pledge this morning.
Okay, good deal. Everybody stand and pray with me. Dear Lord, thank you for this fabulous place that we live. Thank you for this opportunity today to begin voting in the state of Texas. Please guide us, dear Lord, in that voting process. This nation exists because of divine guidance, I'm absolutely convinced. Please guide those who vote and help continue the fine nation that we have. Bless all those that protect us here and overseas. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Judge, are you able to hear okay?
That's a no.
Thank you, Judge. The prayer is over.
I think that answered that. Judge, are you able to hear us? No? No? Okay. Wave your hand if you want to say something.
We can see you.
We can see you. Let's start with, we'll go first, public comment or
Yeah,
commission?
public comment.
Public comment first. And I think if anyone wants to call in, we can give a number for that. We're a little bit tied up with phone lines, but we could, someone would call Jody cell, or you can call my cell. How about that?
That's what we're going to use for him.
Oh, Jody's on. Anyone who wants to call in, they can call my cell, which is 830-739-1699. And is there anyone in the courtroom that would like to make any public comment? Up, there we go. Oh, we just lost.
I can hear.
Okay, you can hear us now.
I can hear.
I do not see any public comments, so we'll move on to commissioners' comments. Commissioner Ballou.
No.
Early voting starts today. It's underway right now, so make sure you go out there and vote.
It's not just a Precinct 2 unique thing, but it's a county issue. Went past the polling place this morning, the Ag Barn. Lots of people voting. We have a policy on putting signs up. It was violated yesterday. A lot of people putting signs up yesterday afternoon. I think we owe it to the public to make sure that they understand what the rules are for putting signs up, and it is basically put the signs up an hour or half hour, did we decide? An hour before, 1 hour before, and 1 hour after polling's closed, take the signs down. So I'll repeat that. Putting signs up at voting places in the county, 1 hour before you may put them up, 1 hour after polls close, take them down. So that's it.
I got to add one thing. I believe at Ingram, at the school district building, they're allowed to leave them up because they're not having other events to interfere with that. But the county facility is exactly what Mr. Moser said.
Okay. County facility.
And I would add this: if you're wondering about the hours, you can check the county website, and it has the hours posted.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
I don't have any comments, Commissioner Harris.
They stole a lot of my thunder, but I will mention something that probably a lot of people were wondering about yesterday. There was a prescribed burn in Hunt, and they did everything right and what have you, but a lot of people were concerned because that smoke just kind of went all the way down the river yesterday, and everybody's wondering what the heck's going on, and that's what it was. It just perfect storm and drifted down like that. So that was the bad air we saw yesterday.
We saw it from East Kerr County too.
I know.
There was a lot of bad air from just dirt in the air.
You're right, and this didn't help. So that's what it was.
Okay. Judge, do you have any comments?
No, other than we probably ought to announce the, no, I don't have any comments.
Okay. All right, we'll go on into the agenda, consideration agenda. First item is consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding update, facility use, and other matters related to COVID-19. Dub?
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Judge. Hope y'all had a great weekend. Y'all pray for rain. We need it. Today's COVID-19 data. I'm going to focus on numbers that were posted over the weekend. Believe it or not, the state did work yesterday. It was actually a holiday, but the state worked anyway, so they did put out some numbers. Total tested by Peterson as of yesterday was 7,036. Texas Military Forces testing was 812. Nursing homes 675. Curative Incorporated 1,002. Total testing done here in Kerr County that we're aware of is 9,525. Kerr County COVID positives through Peterson Regional were 580. We had 19 new cases over the weekend. Currently there are 3 hospitalized. Our active and recovered from Region 8, total active cases is 26.
Let me interrupt you, Deb.
Yes, sir.
Is that in Region 8, it's 26? What is it in Kerr County? What's the total active cases in Kerr County?
26.
26, okay. So it's confusing to say from Region 8.
Right,
Okay. So that's just where the information comes from.
that's correct.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Total recovered cases is 727. Total fatalities are 13. We've had 3 fatalities since our last report 2 weeks ago.
Deb, another thing. 26, so there's been an increase in active cases in Kerr County last 3 or 4 weeks.
Correct.
Is there, but I think the key thing is the number of people hospitalized, 3, that's still very low compared to the capability of the hospital.
Yes, sir.
So it's probably more people being tested, therefore more positive cases, or is there any correlation there, or any discussion or identification of why the cases have increased so much in
I
Kerr
think it's
County?
just been the fact that it started when we lived at the mask order, I think, and right after was it Labor Day, I guess.
Yeah.
So everybody
Okay,
getting together and no
Okay.
social distancing and not wearing a mask,
Okay.
and it flared up on us.
but still the hospitalization count is still,
Hospitalization count is still low for us. There has been an uptick in Region 8 over the last couple of weeks, but I think it's starting to level off at this point.
okay, good, thank you.
To be determines 52 at this point. Some of the other stats, you want to, if you have to flip back in the back, but there's been total deaths in Texas, 16,557, total recovered 703,000. Kendall County has had 477 with 5 fatalities. Medina, 1,192 with 30 fatalities. Gillespie, 355 with 2. Bandera, 198 with 3. Kimball, Canada couldn't find their number yesterday. Real County, 121 with 2 fatalities. Region 8 update for the entire region was active 2,317, total recovered 76,000. Deaths 1,954, and they have 1,066 pending cases. Of that, 43 are for Kerr County.
All right, I have a couple of comments. Last week I attended a meeting with we call it the stakeholders group, which is Dub, Jeremy from the emergency management side, the city of Kerrville, hospital representatives, Dr. Planton, Corey Edmondson, and others. And it was a good meeting from the standpoint I learned a lot, but it was a frustrating meeting because I learned a lot. And I'm going to go over just a couple of numbers, and this is going to go somewhere with that thing. If you look at the Region 8 numbers that came out, I think yesterday, it shows that Kendall County has 100 probable cases and 1 active case. Well, we discussed, or Dub explained last week a lot what that means. What that means is that to be active, you have to have a certain type of test, the PCR test, is that right?
Be a confirmed test.
The confirmed test.
Yes, sir.
But then to be on the probable case, it could be the antigen test, which is a lot of people take. But they don't accept that in the state numbers. Yet, it's about 80% accurate. So we are gearing off of the active cases because that's a real number that we have. And if you look at the probable cases, you know, it's to me, these numbers are very misleading. If 80% of the 100 in Kendall County are probably active cases, don't know that for sure, but that's an estimate. They say it's about 80% accurate. So that means there's about, 80 there plus the 1. So they really should have 81 in Kendall County. We have 40. Take 80% of that, it's 32. We should have 76. So the numbers are becoming somewhat meaningless to me. Right. I think the trends are very important. And to me, there are 4 categories of the trends. Active, which is on this chart, probable, hospital, and death. Beyond that, I really don't care anymore what that trend is. And I would recommend 2 things. One, Dub prepare a chart, which he has in the backup with some of that information, but put it on a chart and coordinate it with the hospital and send us that weekly. We can distribute that through the PR, through Lisa, and quit having Dub come into court every other Monday and talk about it. I mean, I just think we're wasting his time, and we're wasting the court's time going over a lot of this information. The public's aware of the situation.
I agree with you. If it was just a plot showing the trend, that's the important thing, okay? Because the way you diagnose that data is complicated. That's the reason I was asking about, it's real, the number of people in the hospital, okay? And that's 3,
Yes.
okay? That's the real
Exactly.
parameter to me, okay? This other stuff is, I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's confusing. I agree with you.
It's confusing, and I think to the public, if we could get maybe the paper to publish something like that on a weekly basis, daily, I don't care how they want it, probably weekly, and show the trend for the community. Right. That's what the public needs to be aware of, not, we had 19 cases over the weekend, or we had 0 cases. That's somewhat irrelevant. It's the actual trend, and the judge and others and anyone that wants to can drill into the information. It's certainly readily available to the public. So that's just my opinion, that Dub does need to come here every Monday anymore.
I would agree with you, except for one thing, the probables. What is the point of that?
Well, the probable, as I understand it, is mostly the antigen test, which is a test that is 80% accurate. And I'm saying 80%.
I know, but what's the
like
point of
almost
that?
91%.
91% accurate. So,
But
But the state doesn't consider it a confirmatory test, so therefore they consider it probable.
Yeah.
Based on the other criteria, case criteria, were they in close contact with somebody, were they symptomatic, those types of things.
That's the way the sheriff wouldn't really ever diagnose, where you, Rusty, you were just assumed to be a probable case.
Right.
Because you're
Right,
right.
I'll go ahead and say it. What mine was, and this is another one of those.
Take your mask off so the
what
judge
you're
can hear
saying,
you.
Jonathan, what the deal was with us is my wife tested with the antigen test positive. Okay, so that goes into the to be determined. And they told us the way it's determined is when somebody calls her and goes over her symptoms. Well, that call took place 15 days after she tested. Okay, so she was already doing better and out of quarantine.
Yeah.
And then with me, I had the same symptoms, so I asked them, okay, do I need to get tested too? And they said, no, since you're in the same household, you are both presumed positive, and you are, and I have the symptoms too. But they said, you're presumed without ever even being tested. So I don't know where that one shows up, if it shows up in the to be determined, or it doesn't show up at all. They said they just don't.
As I understand it, it doesn't show up at all.
Because you never went in and took a test of any sort. So again, I'm not certain what the probable really is.
Well,
Why
see,
it's even needed.
I called them back and asked them, do I need to go get tested? And they said, no, they would not test me because we're in the same household and my wife already tested me. So, I agree with you, Jonathan. The numbers are weird and it's strange.
Look at the trend.
Right.
Well, in Commissioner, you also remember out of that executive committee, they appointed another committee to come up with
Another criteria.
a way to put out the numbers that everybody would understand. So we've kind of had some conversations about that over the weekend via email, and hopefully we'll get that ironed out this week, and we'll see if we can't make it a little bit more understandable for everybody.
Wait, a committee to help understand.
Yes,
That,
yeah, we're here to help, so, yeah.
And
But
just
anyway.
remember that a camel is a horse created by committee.
So, but anyway, that's all I had to say on that. And Doug was aware I was going to say all this, I think, because I pretty much told the committee last week that I was going to say
Sure.
this.
Okay, good.
I have
County clerk has a question.
Yes. For the people who travel from out of county where there's not a hospital or urgent care, and they test positive in Kerr County, are those out-of-county residents counted with Kerr Counties? Refresh my
No, they're
memory.
counted wherever
Where it is
wherever
based on
their residence
residence.
is, yes,
Okay.
their main residence.
I couldn't remember.
Also, I want to let everybody know that we are going to be doing COVID testing again on November 3rd at the Youth Event Center. There's no appointment necessary, no doctor's referral or anything like that, so
Yeah, election day.
there won't be elections at the Youth Event Center that day. They're at
Oh,
the
that's
calendar.
right, they'll be at the other
Just early
place.
They'll be
voting.
at other locations, so yeah, November
That's
3rd
right.
at the Youth Event Center from 8 to 4.
Okay,
Okay.
8 to 4.
So we'll let you know, Doug. I know there's another stakeholders meeting this week.
This
that
week,
will-
yes, sir.
8 to 4 on November.
Third.
On the
And even when you get good information, you know, early on, you told us this many people had tested. 6% of those were positive. And people hear that 6% of the county has COVID. So even when you have good information, it has to be, you know, you have to be careful of how it's presented.
Right, I think what we want to look at is, like Jonathan said, we want to look at what the trend is. Are we trending up, are we trending down, are we trending flat?
Right.
That's more important to me
Sure.
than a total number.
Right.
Yeah.
And Doug said he could use the extra sleep by not having to come.
I'd just like some sleep, that'd be nice.
All right.
Y'all have a good day.
Stick around, this will put you to sleep.
Judge, do you have any comments on that?
No, other than my understanding is that the probables are the positive antigen test,
Right.
which is somewhere between 80 and 90% accurate. And so the way I treat it is I just take that number and multiply it by about 80% and figure that we've got that many probables, that many active cases out there that have not been confirmed.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Move on to item 1.2. Consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding the local state of disaster due to a public health and economic emergency proclamation, which was signed by Judge Kelly March 24th, 2020, and extended until terminated by order of Kerr County Commissioners Court on March 30th, 2020. This has been the long-standing item on the agenda.
No action.
No action, but I have a comment. I think that unless somebody can convince me that this emergency is really continuing, and this would be input from the county attorney, certainly the county judge, maybe Chuck Kimbrough, I will be in favor and probably would plan on making a motion at our next Commissioners Court meeting to cancel that emergency order. To me, we do not have an emergency right now. We have a situation where we have a virus that's is in our community. Everyone is aware of it. You know, we have a mask order in place right now. A lot of people aren't wearing a mask, so we're not enforcing the current order. The sheriff has made his position well known. KPD is not enforcing the order in the city from their standpoint. So to me, we're basically diminishing the value of an emergency order declaration, and there's no reason to continue it unless someone can convince me for a financial reason that we have to. And my understanding is that it's a safe way to go, but I think I'm beyond that unless there's a real reason to do it. And that's just to let everyone know. And I'll also bring this up at our stakeholders meeting with the city later this week, I think Thursday afternoon. I believe the judge is going to miss that, but I will attend that meeting.
I felt for some time that we didn't really need it, other than financial obligations. If it took us out of the running for some grant money or what have you for COVID, has that changed? Can somebody from the auditor's office or or the county attorney?
I don't think any of that's changed. I think the answer is still the same.
Well, the question is, do we have anything pending that could be influenced by that? I don't know of anything we have pending.
I wonder, and it may not have anything to do with anything, but I wonder why the judge's authority would then be, if we didn't have the declaration in place, to permit the opening of particular establishments, bars.
Right, that's what I asked you to look into that, and someone to, and also certainly for the county judge to look into it. My understanding is if we cancel it, the county judge can re-implement it if it's needed.
That's correct.
Just like, yeah.
So, but I think it's
I think a piece of data too to make that decision. If we have the trending data and it's trending down, I think you say emergency over. If it's trending up, then that's another discussion.
The real issue is where we're sitting right now and what the governor's had to say in this magical number 20. That's the real issue. Because if that were not in place, none of this would be all exercise and an academic exercise to talk about it. 20 active cases in a county just comes from out of the blue.
Right.
It's not based on any kind of scientific anything.
Just the county,
So,
not based on
Omaha
population.
County is opening up their bars and what have you, and so people around us are starting to do it and realize it. The judge mentioned one day that we're starting to see herd immunity, but the governor's number 20 is really what all this hinges on.
and I don't think that what we do on our local declaration certainly doesn't, take precedent over what the governor's done. So we're under the
Exactly.
governor's order regardless.
Which is why I'm saying
Right.
that the governor really needs to look at that. And we are not in the same place we were when this started.
Right.
We've learned a whole bunch, and yet our rules are still set as if it just happened yesterday.
The only thing I'd like to say is when you said sheriff's made his point clear, that's true, I have, but it's not because of me. If you look at what the governor wrote, and I've talked to judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, it is unenforceable. The order says that you cannot arrest and you cannot detain. If you cannot detain, you cannot write a citation, okay? And if you refuse to sign the citation, in most cases, that means you get arrested, and you cannot arrest. The order is totally unenforceable the way the governor wrote it. And that's why most sheriffs that I know and police departments are not going to enforce it because we can't. If he wants us to enforce it, then write it the way we could.
I agree. I agree with what you were doing.
Sure.
But this demonstrates too why we need the legislature to review this kind of stuff and not just have the governor's order or any orders come out.
Oops, they're not in session.
Exactly, but there should be a special session right
Right.
now on this. He should have called it by now. That's
So
my
anyway, that's just letting everyone know that's kind of the direction I'm heading, and the Judge will be here next week so we can have a more lively discussion. Any other comments, Judge?
No.
Sounds like you last week.
All right, move on to item 1.3. Consider, discuss, take appropriate action to approve resolution to enable Diedrich Center to apply for a grant from the Texas Department of Agriculture to support Meals on Wheels program in Kerr County.
Good morning.
Brenda?
How are y'all this
Morning,
morning?
Brenda.
Hey, Brenda.
Well, we have been busy. Just want to let y'all know through the pandemic, we've never missed a day of delivering meals to our seniors in our community. In fact, we deliver about 6,000 meals every month to our seniors. That's about 300 meals every single day in our community. So for our total year, our year ends in September, so we've delivered over 71,000 meals last year to seniors. And during this time, we also of course, our building is closed for the general public, so our congregate dining has closed, but we started doing drive-through. So we've had, last month in September, we had 565 people come through, 565 meals given out during our congregate drive-through. We call it our Friendship Cafe drive-through. So we are feeding our seniors and making sure they have extra food. As we're cooking food, and we're not doing the congregate dining, we're cooking the same amount of food, so we're freezing extras. And sometimes throughout this whole 6 or 7 month period, we've sent extra frozen meals and shelf-stable meals home to our seniors so that they have some extra food in their fridge or freezer or their cabinets, so they're definitely don't feel isolated and have some food. We've been very careful with our mask wearing, with our drivers, with our volunteers, when they're delivering and everything. So I'm proud to say that we've not had anybody sick. We haven't had anybody. We had a couple volunteers that felt they had something, but it was nothing that they'd gotten from us or that and they've stopped themselves from delivering until everything was clear. So we've been very fortunate, and I'm just keeping on. Hopefully we'll make it through the next however many months we're going to be doing this. So 71,000 meals a year that we did in September last year. And another important thing I wanted to tell you that we have about 2,000 hours per month of volunteer service to the Diederich Center for our Meals on Wheels drivers, our Meals on Wheels assessors, and that equates out to about almost $300,000 worth of value. You know, the value of a volunteer is about $23.54, I think is what we use within our state contracts. And so that's another significant point that we're doing at the Diederich Center is saving our community money by having to pay staff to do these volunteer hours. So that's another significant thing that we're doing in our community is making sure that we've got those volunteers trained and they're good and they're going out and they're double checking on these seniors that are home alone and making sure they don't feel isolated.
I had the opportunity to ride along with that program last year, a couple days. I thoroughly enjoyed it and saw the true value, and how well organized Brenda has this thing and all the volunteers. It was incredible. It was very eye-opening, and then riding along and seeing the people, you know, they look forward to somebody coming and just having a casual little visit and get some food and what have you. It was.
Thank you. And we welcome anybody to come and do that drive along too.
Sure.
Yeah, they definitely, I fill in periodically when we have a volunteer not be able to come. And they definitely know when you're supposed to be there, because if you're running late, they let you know. Because I got in trouble with the lady one time. She says, "You're late. You should have been here 10 minutes ago." I'm sorry, I got lost. I didn't know this route. You know.
Sure.
And so, and I've sat down in Bethany's office when everybody comes back with their clipboards. And everybody comes back in, and that's the first question. Everything okay? Yes, this one's okay, but this lady, she didn't look very good. She didn't sound very good. So we'll follow up and call and say, what can we do for you? You need any extra food? You need, you know. And so it's more than just here's a meal. We're looking at it, we're coming back, and they're making little notes on their thing that says their dog passed away, and we'll send them a sympathy card. We send them birthday cards. So it's a really whole person program, and it's awesome. It's great. So this grant helps us apply for a grant through the Texas Department of Agriculture every year, and last year we got $14,000 from them because ACOG actually paid us more. If ACOG purchases more of our meals that we get reimbursement for, then the TDA grant money kind of goes down a little bit. And this year, ACOG has been awesome with helping us, paying us for extra meals, giving us some extra money to be able to buy some of those frozen meals. And so they've changed a lot of their stuff. So ACOG has been great this year working to help us make sure we have food for our seniors in our community.
Well, Brenda, I'll move for approval for the resolution to enable Diederich Center to apply for that grant from Texas Department of Agriculture to support Meals on Wheels in Kerr County.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Moser, second Commissioner Harris, to approve the agenda item.
One other thing I'd like to add, not Meals on Wheels, but Diederich Center provides a lot of other really important services to the community, not just the senior citizens, but provides a fantastic meeting place for Dynamic Learning Institute to have their meetings in a safe distance. And I think last Friday there was a meeting between City Council and Commissioners Court, and I was not there. The Diederich Center provided that facility to accommodate that. So thanks Brenda for all that.
Thank you so much. We are open a little bit on some rentals, some classes, and some activities that can be socially distanced.
Okay.
We have a lot of bridge players that are real upset because we won't let them come back in because you can't social distance on bridge very well. So we're doing it with some of them. Some of our classes, our seniors want to be engaged, and so we're slowly trying to open up some things that we can socially distance. And while the building's empty, we're painting and redoing floors and getting everything we can doing to upgrade our building at the same time while we're closed. So we thank you all, and we appreciate your support so much.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, 5-0. Item 1.4, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to approve contract with Dietrich Center and allow county judge to sign same. And I presume this is our normal contract
$4,500.
for $4,500.
I'll move for approval.
Motion for Commissioner Baloo,
Second.
second Commissioner Harris to approve our annual contract with the Dietrich Center in the amount of $4,500. Any discussion? All in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
5-0, it's unanimous. Item 1.5, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to approve resolution of support for Second Amendment. Mr. Lehman? I know you're Jerry, but I see Mr. Lehman back there.
He's gonna come up here in just a minute.
Okay.
I'm the warm-up act. I was here last January, I can't remember why, but Steve was here that morning, speaking, introducing a resolution to ask Commissioners Court to support a Second Amendment, a resolution supporting the Second Amendment in Kerr County. And there was a lot of complications and questions about some wording about whether it was constitutional or not. Well, shortly after that meeting, I joined the Kerr County Patriots, which I'm now president. And about a month later, Steve joined. And one of our principles of which the club supports and promotes is the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. And so we have provided some support and encouragement to Steve, and he's worked this resolution through, so he's here this morning to present it to you, and I think hopefully you will find it acceptable.
Good morning. For those that don't know me, I'm Steve Lehman. Just to set the record straight, it was not me who submitted the resolution last January. It was another gentleman, but I was here to listen to it, and I learned from his mistakes. I have since restructured a resolution based on several others I found around Texas, and I've run it by a couple of you. It's been looked at by the sheriff and the county attorney, and I believe all of you have a copy of it. I would like to give you a little bit of history, however, for the record. The Second Amendment sanctuary movement refers to resolutions adopted by some jurisdictions in the United States not to expend resources or enforce certain gun control measures perceived as violating the Second Amendment. The resolutions opposed enforcement of universal gun background checks, high-capacity magazine bans, red flag laws, semi-automatic rifle bans, and other measures intended to restrict the gun rights of law-abiding citizens. The movement began after Democrats won control of both houses of the Virginia General Assembly in November of 2018, while vowing to enact draconian gun control measures. Presidential candidate O'Rourke from Texas had announced in September of 2019 his intention to ban semi-automatic weapons. Other jurisdictions that have adopted those resolutions are either fighting Democrat-controlled legislatures or being proactive in fear of their states turning blue. As of March 15th, 2020, over 1,000 jurisdictions across America have declared themselves Second Amendment sanctuaries or adopted other pro-Second Amendment resolutions, and I'm hoping to add Kerr County to that list. Any questions? Would you like me to read the resolution?
Let me
Yes.
propose something. Okay, instead of reading all the whereases, okay, but just looking at what's being resolved or hereby being resolved. On the first one, it says, now therefore hereby resolved that Kerr County, Texas does hereby oppose the enactment of any legislation, bill, law, ordinance, state statute, or measure that would infringe upon the right of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms. But that would be just, it should say, Kerr County does hereby oppose any enactment of any Texas legislation or bill. Are you saying this is national and, or just Texas, or local, or what?
I'm as
Or
opposed.
any legislation?
Any legislation.
Any, national, state, local, whatever.
Yes.
Okay, for clarification. Another thing is, the second thing it proposes is, be further resolved that Kerr County recognizes that gun-free zones do not keep citizens safe, but rather restrict the right and ability of citizens to defend and protect themselves, and that other means should be found to protect citizens from criminal activity as they need no protection from lawful gun carriers. I don't disagree with that, but I don't know that it really adds anything. I think somebody could challenge you, or challenge the county if we said, we know that it's not a good idea to have gun-free zones. I think that's debatable, okay?
Yes, sir.
So maybe you want to eliminate that, or I would
Well, that
suggest
doesn't
that
actually
be
call
eliminated.
for anything.
Huh?
That doesn't really call for anything.
Well, it says that
It's
we agree with,
maintenance.
it says we agree with that.
Yeah.
We agree that gun-free zones are not good. That's what it
I agree
basically
with
says.
I agree with that.
But don't you?
Okay,
Yeah.
I think we all agree with that.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
It's just a
exactly.
matter of
I think it's
acquiescence.
debatable, but, okay. Well, those are the only two comments that I had on
All
your
right, sir. Thank you.
proposed resolution.
I move for approval.
I second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Motion from Commissioner Harris, second from Commissioner Blue, to approve a resolution of support for the Second Amendment as been presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand or say aye. Judge, do you have it? Was that a,
Maybe we lost him.
Judge, are you there?
You there, Judge?
I think we lost the judge, so we'll say that's a 4-0 vote, unanimous.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Steve. Okay, item 1.6, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to modify Court Order 38347, authorizing use of courthouse grounds by Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corporation in contract with Broadway Bank. I put this on the agenda because some things have changed, and I think really what I'd like to do here is just make a motion to cancel that court order. The reason is, Mr. Eichner's here, who's president of the Kerrville Christmas Lighting Corporation. Broadway Bank, because of the COVID situation, does not want to have a contract this year. I think we need to have an agreement with and it'll be simpler to do an agreement with just with the Christmas Lighting Corporation. But that hasn't been written yet. We had one in the past. We just need to update that one. So I think we really need to kind of rescind that court order, and I'll put this on a future agenda to enter into an agreement with the Christmas Lighting Corporation.
Now, for clarification, this thing with Broadway Bank would have been the whole big thing on the courthouse lawn like we're used to.
They fund a lot of it. It's more of the financial contribution that they do.
But
But it is for the Christmas lighting celebration, and the plan is up in the air right now. Exactly what that's going to be. It's probably going to be more of a virtual event, as I understand it, rather than a large crowd here.
Right.
But anyway, all those details are still being worked. So I'll just make a motion that we rescind that previous court order.
Second.
All right, a motion by myself, second Commissioner Harris, to rescind court order 38347. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye, I'm back.
Okay, you're
Aye,
back.
I'm back.
Okay, all right. That's it. Thank you, George. Item 1.7, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to accept the Center for Tech and Civil Life CTCL grant in the amount of $34,771.20. Callie, here you are again.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
So just for a little recap, Kerr County applied for a grant from a 501c3, which is CTCL, and is eligible to receive $34,771.50 pending approval from Commissioner's Court. Kerr County is looking to use this grant in order to reprint ballots because of the Green Party and other potential election expenses. There is no match for this grant. This grant period is from June 15th to December 31st, 2020. And at that point, we have to fill out one report at the end of this grant period. This can be used for multiple election purposes. These guidelines for this grant are intentionally flexible. And if this grant is not utilized, we will have to use additional county funds that will have to be allocated for reprinting ballots. This morning, we were made aware that 4 counties have had lawsuits filed for accepting this grant money, and that's...
Say that again, 4 counties of what?
4 counties have had lawsuits filed for accepting this grant money, and that's all the updates we have.
So what would be the basis of the lawsuits for them accepting the...
It's a partisan organization.
Yeah.
It's a highly partisan organization.
That's it.
So I was just reading a little bit about it because Tina told me this morning right before the meeting, and they say that it violates federal election law because the federal election law puts states and not local governments in charge of elections, and they say that it's an unregulated private grant. The plaintiffs say that the grant creates an illegal public-private partnership and promotes progressive candidates. That's what the article says that I just read.
I would like to say something. Last week I had moved to approve this, and I'll tell you my reasoning, and that's before we found out about the lawsuits. I thought, the analogy I used with several people over the weekend is if you're in a battle or something and you have a supply train going to the enemy, if you could commandeer that, would you use it on your own troops? And so that was my reason, kind of a guerrilla warfare type guy. But now it looks like Harley was right all along, because it was red flags, the people behind this, without a doubt. Without a doubt, it's a red flag. But now that we find out a few counties have been sued, we need to back out all the
So
way.
it's going to end up costing those counties.
It could, yes.
Yeah. I think the comment I'll make also, and this is more for the public, I think I know everyone on the court's aware of this. The money came from Mark Zuckerberg. He donated $250 million to a nonprofit, and the first line of part of the grant, the purpose of the donation was to basically promote vote by mail, absentee voting equipment and supplies, and can be used for other matters related to elections. So we would get under that and other. And I appreciate, and I told Commissioner Ballou this, I appreciate him catching this. I missed it last week. But I think that, Mark Zuckerberg is, his company anyway, and I presume him personally because he heads the company, is against the First Amendment in many times. He's against the Second Amendment. He is politically promotes candidates that I don't support, and for that reason, I don't want his money. And it's a principle issue to me. Yes, it's nice to get the money, but to me, it's not a whole lot different than taking money from a drug dealer, and I don't want to take his money.
Well, I would liken it to a drug dealer in this. Your first taste is free.
Yeah.
And they give you a little something, later on they want something. So that was the first red flag for me, and then I read up on the organization. So.
I was looking for the strings or the hook, and I didn't see it. But now this is the way they're going about it with lawsuits and stuff, it looks like.
Okay.
So, does anyone choose to make a motion to support this or to accept this grant?
No.
I do not hear anyone, therefore motion fails, or no motion even. No action will be taken. No action taken on that.
Thanks again, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Item 1.8, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to ratify and confirm contribution in aid to construction agreement, Kerr Public Utility Board for the courthouse generator in the amount of $2,131.81. Shane?
I think they're moving that generator today, but what this was, is they had to replace the transformer out there for the whole courthouse, and K-Pub needed that payment up front that was there, and so it was done, and that's why now you're ratifying that agreement to pay for that transformer.
Okay.
They had to buy the piece of equipment, apparently.
Yeah, the whole transformer for the courthouse had to be replaced so that they can hook that generator up.
You'd think that we'd be good for it with them, but
Yeah.
apparently not.
That was exactly what I said.
Well, but it's just to ratify, so we need a motion to ratify the contribution aid to construction agreement.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, Commissioner Moser, second Commissioner Baloo, to approve the agenda item. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 1.9, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to ratify and confirm the Ingram Annex lease and modify or rescind Court Order 38337 regarding a 2-year lease with the estimated increase of $311 per month. Commissioner Harris.
Yes, we renewed the lease on the West Kerr Annex, and it's gonna be a flat $1,800 a month for a 2-year lease. So that just kind of cleans up what we originally had stated.
So this is just to ratify that?
Yes, sir. So I move for approval.
Second.
County Attorney, is it cleaner to, well, we have a motion from Commissioner Harris, second Commissioner Blue, to modify or rescind? Is this modify the court order to make it a flat?
To ratify.
I think that.
Or should we rescind?
The order, this order was, I'm not looking at it, but I feel like if memory serves me well, that was just approval after my review, approval of a contract. And it is a substantially different contract from what it's been in the past, just the form of it. So I would rescind it and ratify the new contract.
Let me read the court order to you.
Okay.
Made a motion by Judge Kelly, seconded by myself, unanimously approved 5-0 to authorize Judge Kelly and Commissioner Harris to finalize and negotiate a 2-year lease with 3 1-year options, if possible, with an estimated $311 per month increase to West Kerr County. Sound like all we need to do is ratify it.
I think you need to ratify.
Yeah, just ratify rather than rescind.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So the motion is then to ratify the new lease agreement that has a flat rate of $1,800 per month for a 2-year term. All right.
That's it.
And that was Commissioner Harris made the motion and Baloo made the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
110, consider, discuss, take appropriate action on request from appointed official with the Road and Bridge Department to appoint clerks and assistants for their offices pursuant to Local Government Code 151.
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Moser. Second, Commissioner Baloo, to approve the agenda item. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Unanimous, 5-0. Item 111, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to dispose of furniture from the county attorney's office. Ms. Stebbins?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of mats that go under chairs and a desk that cannot be put back together that I'd like to dispose of, please.
I move for approval.
Thank you.
A motion from Commissioner Harris, second Commissioner Baloo, to dispose of the items listed by the county attorney.
And I'll get the numbers to the auditor's office so they can take them off their inventory.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Item 112, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to approve a $100 donation from a citizen for the sheriff's equipment fund. Sheriff?
It is. Citizen donated it, and we'd like to put it in the equipment fund.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Harris, second Commissioner Moser, to approve a donation to the Sheriff's Equipment Fund in the amount of $100. Any more discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Item 1.13, consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding oversight board membership and policies for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. Judge, you want to start with this one?
Sure. This is just a document that we put together that forms the oversight committee that will actually hire or fire the chief public defender that we hired, and also oversee the not necessarily the daily operations, but probably monthly or quarterly oversight of what the PDO does.
This agreement has been, all of the other counties' judges have looked at this. Is that correct, Judge?
Yes, all the other judges and a number of the commissioners from the other counties, as well as the TIDC staff, and even Representative Murr's gone over this with us. But the whole thing was agreed that we'd have an 11-member board, and that each of the counties would have 2 members of that oversight board, except for Kerr County that would have 3. And that we would have a group of what we call permanent members of that board, which would be the county judges from the 5 counties. Then we'd have 6 other members, and we have outlined various criteria for selection of those board members by the counties. And then we established a supermajority that would need to be, that we'd have to have in order to be able to remove somebody as the chief public defender, because that's the primary purpose of the board, is to hire and fire that chief public defender. And the supermajority is 3 of the 5 permanent members, and or a total of 7 of the 11 total board members to be able to take that type of action or to even modify these rules.
So, Judge, let me ask you a question. It says regarding oversight and policies, but it's really more than that. It's really administrative. So if this board has the authority to hire and fire, is that the way I understand it?
Just one employee, the chief public defender.
Okay, so just one. So it's really more than just establishing policies. And I'm not arguing with it. I'm just trying for clarification.
No, the way the TITC explained it to us is they want the board to be not completely autonomous, but they want it to be fairly independent so that they can operate just like a district attorney's office does, except defending the defendants rather than prosecuting them.
Okay.
But because it's going to be a department of Kerr County, and it's going to represent all 5 counties in their indigent attorney appointments, they wanted to have some oversight of that office. So this is a way that the 5 counties have some say over the office, with Kerr County having the major say.
Well, would this board also approve budgets and things like that?
They would recommend budgets. The budget's actually going to be approved by Kerr County Commissioners Court.
Okay, so the board would recommend the budget. Sort of like, it's pretty similar to the airport board, okay? Airport board has the authority to hire and fire but in consultation and advice to the owners, and then recommend the budget. So we're similar to that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me say, we went to if you'll remember, we appointed our own local committee for the public defender's office.
Right.
And I want to recognize the people that helped us with this. We got input from the chairman of the committee, which was Keith Williams, our retired judge for the 216, District Attorney Stephen Harpole from the 198, Harold Danford, a local attorney, Christine McIntyre, who is the court coordinator for Gillespie, Kerr, and Bandera counties, as well as our own county attorney, Heather Stebbins, and Commissioner Letts and I sat as ex officio, and we also had the input from our auditor, Tandy Shelton, and from our HR director, Jennifer Doss. So it was a lot of work. I think we had a total of 3 or 4 meetings, I can't remember now, in putting this together. So this was a very collaborative effort on the part of many people here at the county to make sure that Kerr County is protected in this agreement.
Well, is this policy available for the public to see, or what's the status of it?
Oh yeah, it's all public.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So it's on website or where?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. If you recall, we've already approved the job description for the chief public defender, which has been posted.
Right.
This is the next step, is to approve the mechanism by which we oversee and hire and fire that chief public defender. And then the
Okay,
next item on the agenda, you'll see down there at 114 when we get to it, is the interlocal agreement between the 5 counties. And so there's been a great deal of time and effort put in to how to work together between the 5 counties and to protect Kerr County's interest as the host county for making this a department of Kerr County.
And the only thing I'll add is that this is more just informational. All of the employees, even those located in Medina County, will be Kerr County employees. And they will be subject to our policies, our retirement, all of our benefits package, and all of that. And that's why, Kerr County has a more of a say. And because those are all job descriptions and things of that nature, while they'll be developed by the chief public defender and through the oversight board, this court's going to have a lot more involvement with that whole public defender's office than any other commissioner's court out of the 5. It'll be it's a Kerr County department that we oversee through the oversight board and through the chief public defender.
well, I have one other comment. I think it all sounds good, but I haven't seen the proposed policy or anything. I don't know if other members of the court have or not.
This is it. Right
Is
now.
it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's in
it's-
the,
but- So we just received that this morning?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Now, this looks similar to what we got, I guess, last week, because I was just comparing the two, but this is.
New and improved.
Yeah, new and improved.
There are just a couple of minor changes to this agreement and the next agreement.
okay, well, I hadn't read it yet, so I'll let somebody else make a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the oversight board membership and policies for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office.
Second.
I made a motion to approve, and Commissioner Harris made the second to approve the oversight board membership and policies for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. Any further discussion?
I just want to say, I'm have a high level of confidence in Judge Williams, and his involvement was really
Oh, yeah.
helpful, I think, to most everybody in the community understanding that he'll be part of that. And when you ask attorneys in the area about Judge Williams, they all respect him. So,
It was I will say that this agreement it's moved and changed quite a bit. There was a lot of input from the people, the local group, and they went through it line by line, especially Judge Williams, and actually everybody on the committee went through it. County Attorney Stebbins as well. I mean, everyone's had a lot of input into it to make sure that Kerr County's interests are protected.
I think he'll look to our financial interest in a special
Right.
way.
You bet.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion?
I haven't read it, but I wish it had been in the backup. I think I would have read it, but and I wasn't here last week, so I'm sure that it's. I have confidence, okay, but I'm going to abstain because I haven't read it.
Okay. All right. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Against, abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. So it's a 4-0-1. Vote with Commissioner Moser abstaining. Item 1.14, consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding the interlocal agreement for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. This is the agreement between the counties. It's as brief as it could be, mainly because most of the actual meat is in the agreement we just approved, to give a little bit of flexibility. Judge, do you have any comments on this?
No, other than I would say that the delay in getting this document out, Commissioner Moser, was my technological incompetence with regard to the red line process, and it took call back to TIDC and have them send me just a Word document so we could finish the changes. But all the changes that we made in it were made by our committee. There was some input from TIDC, but really the other 4 counties were in complete agreement. And all of the changes that were made, I think Ms. Stebbins can confirm, were to protect Kerr County, and to give us, to more clearly spell out exactly what our rights are in the state. And the interlocal agreement between the counties is what obligates them to pay us their share of these expenses for the matching grant. We've got the first year is at 80-20, and so of that 20% that the counties contribute, this is the document that obligates them to pay us. So this is a pretty important document.
Judge, the only question I had, do you have the document in front of you?
No, but let's see if I can get it. No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Well, on page 5 on the signature page, there's a typo for Judge Schuhart. There's a 7 before Schuhart, just to get that corrected.
Yeah.
Well, there's some other things, other problems.
Off to 7, and I corrected that on my red line, but I could never get it printed.
Okay.
So that came see with the same typo on it. I apologize.
The other item that I noted was on item 4, it goes, each county agrees to appoint 2 representatives except for Kerr, may appoint 3. Shouldn't it say each county commissioner's court? And that could that be consistent with the policies agreement we just approved?
I think, I'm trying to remember, at least in one of the documents, I know we've said Commissioner's Court. I thought we said Commissioner's Court in this one too, in a different place. But I would certainly clarify that by saying it was always intended that it's going to be the Commissioner's Courts that make these appointments.
Right. So, in the other agreement, it says that it's the Commissioner's Court that makes the appointments, but this one, it just says each county. And it could be, it's probably okay this way, the other agreement. But since this is the agreement that's approved by all counties, and the other one's only approved by Kerr County, probably should say Commissioner's Court in this one as well.
I agree. So you're gonna have to make some corrections anyway.
Right.
So might as well clean it up.
Yeah, the red line on there is weird.
Any other comments?
With those corrections noted, I move for approval.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Harris, second from Judge Kelly to approve the interlocal agreement for Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office with the 2 modifications made today.
Is he going to, the judge, are you going to,
Speak up there, I can't hear you.
Heather has a question, Judge.
Okay.
Judge, are you going to tell whoever is in charge of redlining that document that those 2 changes need to be made?
Yes, I can talk to Scott about that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Well, number 4 has a lot of stuff that I can't understand because of the red line at all. I don't even get the sense of it.
Item 4?
Item 4 is a jumble. And not understanding any more about the redlining than the judge has expressed. Maybe somebody that's familiar with it can read that.
I can read. Each county agrees to appoint 2.
Take the word delete.
And it says delete, and then I don't know what's deleted, what isn't, so I'm gonna have to abstain if we're gonna
hold on.
Part
vote
of
on
that,
this.
I think that this document that y'all have, it's the same one that I have. I don't think that that's really the final document because it does have some of somebody's comments, probably Judge Kelly's. I don't know if you've got it in front of you, Judge Kelly, but I think it's got some language in there that shouldn't be adopted in the final version. I agree.
How about if we...
Because you can't understand if it's talking about this being deleted or the next.
I think it's just somebody's comments that they were sending back and forth. We may not have the final version in front of us.
How about...
No,
You think yours is different?
Mine looks just like Harley's.
Okay.
I would recommend, because there is some time sensitivity to get this done.
What's the time sensitive?
Trying to get the office started with the chief public defender.
Well, you have a vote without my vote, but I'm gonna abstain.
1 week making it.
Judge,
Yeah, I haven't read it either, so I'm not.
Judge, question, is this on the agenda in the other counties? Okay, we need to make sure that we all are approving the exact same document.
Exactly.
Can we, is it possible, is it gonna cause a problem if we delay this?
Till next Monday.
Except that the,
No?
or we could authorize, the county judge to make some modifications, which I believe is the route that some of the other counties are taking. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Let me just kind of tell you what the timeline is. Everything is geared towards having all 5 counties approve all our organizational documents and appoint our representatives by the last regular meeting of the month, which I think is October 26th.
Okay.
So that's our time deadline. And I apologize, but I think I got a clean copy out. I don't think it got distributed to y'all sometime over this weekend. I think I sent one to Heather, and I don't know if she's received that or
She
not.
didn't get it.
We didn't get it.
We didn't get it.
The one I got,
Well, we
Judge,
That's easy to fix. We can get that out, and there's no problem in delaying to approve this until next week.
Okay.
That's the case.
What we were trying to do was to finalize this as quickly as we could, so that the other 4 counties could adopt what we've adopted.
Let's do it next week.
And so, I don't know if that's gonna delay other counties, but if it does, it does. But we're still targeted for the 26th.
Okay.
I withdraw my motion.
Okay, then we'll pass on this. Commissioner Harris withdrew his motion.
So we'll do it next week.
All right, we'll do it next week and then, it'll work. It's
Okay.
cleaner that way to make sure it's the actual document. This is an important document because it's all 4 counties, 5 counties need to sign. Okay, go on to, it's 1.15, consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding reappointment of Jonathan Less as member of the Kerrville Economic Development Corporation. Mr. Moser?
Okay, yeah, Commissioner Letz's term is expiring on the Kerrville Economic Development Corporation, and I make a motion that we reappoint Commissioner Letz to that position.
I second that before he backs out.
Motion second to reappoint myself as member of the Kerrville Economic Development Corporation. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Jody, if you'll tell them.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and it's
Take
almost 10 after, so we'll take a break and come back in at 10:20.
Okay.
Court, back in order. 1.16, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to set a public hearing for November 23rd, 2020 at 10 a.m. to consider a petition to abandon and discontinue road maintenance for approximately 495 feet at the end of Encino Drive, Precinct 1. Mr. Hastings.
Thank you. Shirley Ann McGraw-Bell owns Lots 6 and 7, all parts, and 8 of Ranchero Estates. It's Volume 3, page 46, and has generated a petition to abandon and discontinue road maintenance for approximately 495 feet of the end of Encino Drive. Said portion of the road serves the aforementioned Lots 6, 7, and 8. The request is being made so she can gate this portion of the road off from the public. There is not a request to vacate the road, so that Lots 6, 7, and 8 will still have legal access to a road. However, once abandoned and discontinued, the road will become private in nature. Kerr County standard practices and procedures for a request to abandon the end of a road is for the requester to provide some means for vehicles to turn around in the form of right-of-way dedication, either a cul-de-sac, a T-head, or a hammerhead. Neither the petition nor any other document addresses this concern. According to Texas statutes, the court may order public roads laid out, discontinued, closed, abandoned, vacated, or altered. The statute defines the relevant terms, in this case, abandoned, to relinquish the public's right-of-way in and use of the road, discontinue the maintenance of the road. The statute defines the process to abandon and discontinue. Number 1, prepare a petition with 8 signatures from people who live in the precinct. The petition must show the limits of the road that is to be abandoned and discontinued. The petition must be posted at both ends of the subject portion of road as well as the courthouse for a minimum of 20 days prior to a public hearing. A public hearing, number 2, public hearing is required before the Commissioner's Court can consider the petition. And number 3, following the public hearing, the Commissioners Court may consider and take action on the subject request. The county engineer recommends that the court set a public hearing for November 23rd, 2020 at 10 a.m. to consider a petition to abandon and discontinue road maintenance for approximately 495 feet of the end of Encino Drive, Precinct 1. There are exhibits in your packet if you want to see what that looks like. There's a copy of the petition to abandon and discontinue the road maintenance.
But this is just to do a public hearing.
This would be just to set the public hearing. Then at the public hearing date, we can get down into the weeds during the public hearing, and I can give you a full report and analysis.
Okay, I'll move for approval.
Second.
A motion for Commissioner Baloo, second Commissioner Moser to set the public hearing, November 23rd, 2020 at 10 a.m. to consider the petition to abandon and discontinue road maintenance for approximately 495 feet at the end of Encino Drive, Precinct 1. Any further discussion?
I have a question. Do I need to publish it 1 or 3 times? Just one publishing?
Clarify that with the county attorney afterwards.
I'll get with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other discussions? All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
5-0, it's unanimous. Item 1.17, consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding court authorization for the Road and Bridge Department to remove many speed humps on Mosby Lane and 2nd Street, Precinct 2, Hastings.
The intersection of Mosty Lane and 2nd Street in Centerpoint has limited sight visibility due to the extremely close proximity of existing buildings to the edge of the road, i.e. the buildings are within 2 feet of the edge of the road and Mosty Lane is 18 feet wide. In addition, the right-of-way for Mosty Lane is prescriptive and both sides of the road are owned by the Mosty family, who have used the road in their tree and plant nursery operation for decades. The commercial operation consists of pedestrian, equipment, and vehicles crossing Mosty Lane to access the buildings that are on the edge of the road, going back and forth between those buildings that are on either side of the road. This has created a unique safety concern where the use of the many speed humps placed on the road surface was believed to create a safer corridor for the traveling public on Mosty Lane and its intersection with 2nd Street, and on January 9th, 2017, the court authorized the installation of said speed humps. On July 17th, 2020, the engineering department received an email from Brian Wofford of Mosty Nursery requesting the speed humps be removed, and I quote, "as they only cause people to drive faster over them or swerve through our parking lot to go around," end quote. The county engineer requests the court authorize the Road and Bridge Department to remove the many speed humps on Mosty Lane and 2nd Street, Precinct 2.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and second, and Mr. Schultz? Nothing to add to that? Okay. Motion Commissioner Moser, second Commissioner Blue to authorize removing the speed humps at Mosty Lane at 2nd Street. Any
The only
further?
thing I'd comment on, it was a good idea, but it did not work, so.
Correct.
Yeah.
All in
Like
favor?
so many good ideas.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Say aye. It's unanimous. Item 1.18, consider, discuss, take appropriate action to set a public hearing for November 23rd, 2020 at 10 a.m. to consider the installation of stop signs in all directions at the intersection of Mosty Lane and 2nd Street. Mr. Hastings.
The intersection of Mosty Lane and 2nd Street has limited sight visibility due to the extremely close proximity of existing buildings to the edge of the road, i.e. the buildings are within 2 feet of the edge of the road and Mosty Lane is 18 feet wide. We established that in the last agenda item. In addition, the right-of-way for Mosty Lane is prescriptive and both sides of the road are owned by the Mosty family, who have used the road in their tree and plant nursery operation for decades. The commercial operation consists of pedestrian, equipment, and vehicles crossing Mosty Lane to access the buildings that are on the edge of the road. There is an existing stop sign on 2nd Street at Mosty Lane. There are no stop signs on Mosty Lane and 2nd Street. An engineering study was conducted following the Texas Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. The results are attached and will be read aloud. The speed limit on Mosty Lane is 30 miles per hour. That is the major road. the minor road is 2nd Street, speed limit is 30. 85th percentile speed for Mosty Lane is 18 to 19 miles per hour. 85th percentile speed for 2nd Street is 22 miles per hour. The average daily traffic on Mosty Lane is 40 to 94 vehicles per day.
Wow.
The average daily traffic for 2nd Street is 90 vehicles per day. Vehicles per hour equates to 5 to 12 for Mosty Lane, and for 2nd Street, 11. That's over an 8-hour period. Multi-way stop control can be useful as a safety measure at intersections if certain traffic conditions exist. Safety concerns associated with multi-way stops include pedestrians, bicyclists, and all road users expecting other road users to stop. Multi-way stop control is used where the volume of traffic on the intersecting roads is approximately equal. The restrictions on the use of stop signs described in section 2B.04 of the Texas Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices also apply to multi-way stop applications. And then there's a whole list of reasons why you would or would not use a stop sign. Basically, we don't have the volume at that intersection that the manual would recommend it. However, there are other criteria that may be considered, and one of them is locations where a road user, after stopping, cannot see conflicting traffic and is not able to negotiate the intersection unless conflicting cross traffic is also required to stop. Yes, that's the one that we're really concerned about. If you're on 2nd Street, you cannot necessarily look to your left and tell if there's another vehicle coming until it's there because of the building there. And you also are probably not going to see a little further down the road where there might be some activity going on, whether it's a pedestrian that's working or they've got a skid steer or some kind of equipment trying to work this operation. So with all that being said, County engineer requests the court consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to set a public hearing for November 23rd, 2020 at 10 a.m. to consider the installation of stop signs in all directions at the intersection of Mosty Lane and 2nd Street, Precinct 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Moser, second from Commissioner Harris, to set a public hearing for November 23rd, 2020 at 10 a.m. to consider installation of stop signs in all directions at the intersection of Mosty Lane and 2nd Street. Mr. Schultz, any questions? Nothing to add. All right, thank you. Got any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your hand.
Aye.
Unanimous, 5-0. Item 119, consider, discuss, take appropriate action for the court to approve the final plat of Guadalupe Falls, Precinct 4.
Thank you. The owner is Alan Brown. The proposed total acreage, 5.01 acres. Number of lots, 1. If it's going to be a private well, 2, on a public water system. They have the option of doing either one since they've got the 5-acre minimum. With this lot, they can drill a well if they need to. There is public water available in the area. There's some question about whose CCN it's in. They haven't got that answered, so they've got it both ways right now. They can do either or. They plan on this being a commercial lot, but since they're over 5 acres, if they want to use it as residential, they can. So really, they can do a whole lot with this piece of property. Aqua Texas would probably be the water provider if they can work a deal out there and get the CCN issues resolved. The sewer would be septic. They're out of the floodplain on this lot. There's no proposed roads. This plat proposes 1 lot on Nichols Cemetery Loop and Junction Highway, State Highway 27. It is within Ingram's ETJ. Access from Junction Highway, State Highway 27, must be shared with adjoining property, and it will require a driveway construction permit from TxDOT, not from us. County engineer requests the court approve the final plat for Guadalupe Falls, Precinct 4.
Sorry, just for clarification, if it's 5 acres, Headwater Groundwater doesn't have to approve a well. Is that correct?
They can approve it. If it's under 5, they don't have the ability necessarily to approve a well.
But we can approve something like this without Headwater Groundwater
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And they will have the ability to go get a well.
People ask that, so just for clarification for the public. Okay.
Yeah, on that point, Commissioner, Headwaters does not normally sign our plats.
Yeah, right.
There has been some new discussion whether they should or not, and it's kind of on the table.
Okay.
And I know Mr. Hastings and myself are revisiting with Headwaters. I'm trying to clarify
Yeah,
some of
because that
this.
question came up this weekend, as a matter of fact, on the constituent asking that question. So just for clarification, thanks.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion Commissioner Harris, second Commissioner Blue to approve final plat for Club Loop Falls. For discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. Say aye. I think it's unanimous. Item 120, consider, discuss, take appropriate action for the court to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on November 23rd, 2020 for a revision of plat for Cave Springs Addition, Section 5, Phase 1, Lots 14 and 15 of Block B, Volume 5, page 164. Mr. Hastings.
Thank you. The owner developers are Raymond and Nancy Atkins, Atkins. Proposed total acreage 1.86, one lot, combining lots. And smallest size lot, of course, 1.86. The public water supplier is Vlasic. They are on septic out there. They're out of the floodplain. There's no proposed roads. This proposal combines lots 14 and 15 into lot 15A, 1.86 acres. Property access and road frontage is on Rimrock Circle. County engineer requests the court set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on November 23rd, 2020 for a revision of plat for Cave Spring Addition, Section 5, Phase 1, lots 14 and 15 of Block B, Volume 5, page 164, Precinct 4.
Did you say that it's lot 15A or 14A?
They're going to call it 15A after they combine lots 14 and 15 together. So,
Okay.
On here it says 14.
14A on the...
14A.
It doesn't make any difference.
It's a typo.
It's a typo.
We'll go with what's on here. It'll be 14A. Thank you.
All right.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion for Commissioner Harris, second Commissioner Blue to set a public hearing for 10 a.m. on November 23rd, 2020 for a revision of plat of Cave Springs Addition, Section 5, Phase 1, lots 14 and 15 of Block B, Volume 5, page 164. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous, 5-0. All right. To the court, do y'all want to go to do the approval agenda or do executive session first?
Do approve.
Approval agenda, okay. Go into the approval agenda. First for the auditor, pay the bills.
Invoices for today's consideration: Kerr County, $188,665.45. The airport, $960. Those are all for last year. For this year, we've got Kerr County, $516,511.98. Adult probation, $2,728.95. And then for the DA forfeiture fund, 198 DA forfeiture fund, we've got $7.50.
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Harris, second Commissioner Moser to approve disbursements, pay bills. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Say aye.
Tanya, when will we know
Unanimous.
how we came out of the year?
We're still doing the entries. We're looking at closing the books by the end of December. We're hoping to be through before then, though.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Budget amendments?
There are not any.
None. Late bills?
We have one amount for $109,668.69, and that's for the Texas Water Development Board grant.
Okay. Motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Moser made a motion. Mr. Harris made a second to approve the one late bill. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand or say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Auditor reports?
There are not any.
There are none. Monthly reports?
Yes, for August 2020, standard monthly report from Constable Precinct 3, Ken Wilkie. September 2020, standard monthly reports from Constable Precinct 1, Tommy Rodriguez. Constable Precinct 2, Kyle Snyder. Constable Precinct 4, Gene Huffaker. Fines, judgments, and jury fees collected, JP1, Mitzi French. JP2, J.R. Hone. JP3, Kathy Mitchell. District Clerk, Dawn Lance. County Clerk, Jackie J.D. Dowdy. And payroll approval report, month ending September 2020, County Treasurer Tracy Sullivan. I move for approval.
I have a motion to accept the monthly reports. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion from Commissioner Moser. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Court orders, we have the court orders from our October 5th meeting. Court orders numbers 38362 through 38372. They look to be in order. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A second, Commissioner Harris. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Information agenda, status reports from department heads. I don't see any. Status report from elected officials. Don't see any. Status report from liaison commissioners.
Nothing right now.
I don't see anything. We do have an executive session item. Under item 4.3. Consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding Kildare Mountain Manufacturing Economic Development Opportunity. So we will go into closed session.
Take a 5-minute break.
Oh, take a 5-minute break and go into closed session. It is 11:15 and we are back in open session, and let me call under item 4.3 what was discussed in executive session. It's consider, discuss, take appropriate action regarding Kildare Mountain Manufacturing Economic Development Opportunity.
I'll make a motion that we establish an agreement with Kildare Mountain Manufacturing consistent with the policies of the county on abatements and economic development, and that this agreement be follow those guidelines and those policies and be established with the concurrence of the county attorney and Kildare Manufacturing. Basically what it'll be is an abatement of taxes for 10 years, but tied to the number of employees that Kildare Manufacturing would have in Kerr County, and it would start with 15 in the year 2020 and increase to at least 200 by year 2029, and there'll be clawback provisions in that if they do not meet those, the schedule of employees at that facility, that the abatements would be reduced proportionally. And this was this recommendation and proposal is based on the return on investment analysis to the county as being very positive, somewhere in the neighborhood of $754,000 over a 10-year period to the county in benefits, as opposed to a tax abatement of something like $534,000 over the same period. So with those basic principles, I move that we establish the agreement and bring that agreement back to the court for approval.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the concept of entering into an agreement with Kildare Mountain Manufacturing that will be consistent with the Kerr County policy for economic development. And the general parameters would be that it'll be a 10-year abatement of their property taxes. It'll be tied to performance criteria, including number of jobs established, and other criteria as set out by the proposal to the governor's office. And we'll direct the county attorney to work with economic development, Gil Salinas, on creating that agreement to bring back to the court. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. Any further discussion?
Well, I would like to say that I'm not a big fan of abatements, other than these types that produce good paying jobs with benefits. There's a difference in jobs. Some are just jobs, but others are lasting jobs that create, people can raise a family on. So, I'm for this.
I echo that. I hope people understand this does not set a precedent.
Yes.
Unless the precedent is that an abatement must bring with it primary jobs.
You and I discussed another situation earlier that we.
Right, that didn't do that.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay. And with that, I think that's it for today's Commissioners Court. We're adjourned.